Hey, folks, welcome to the Dennis Miller Show. I am the aforementioned Mr. Miller. Whither goest Greece? Wish these cats were half this ingenious in a search for a freaking job. Because when they get together to riot over the dole, they certainly appear to be an industrious lot.
Nobody throws rocks like the Greece.
No.
The Greeks.
As I've often said, at least over there you're dealing with a soccer country. When these riots hit America's shores, you're talking about kids who were raised in baseball. They know how to wing a Molotov cocktail. Over there, the guys throw like girls. Anyway, joining us now is Jimmy Delingpole there.
He is. He's here in Los Angeles with
God,
me.
I saw a hilarious article last week about the stupidest species or something. It was unbelievably funny. But joining us in our L.A. studios for the entire hour, a bit of a freak disturber. I love that he gets under their skin. James Delingpole. His latest book is Watermelons, The Green Movement's True Colors. James, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Miller.
Nice to be here with you. And I don't know what to make of Gore. As oftentimes as Obama can drive me crazy, at least he's not a sweat act in my book. Gore, though, he's now criticizing President Obama, which makes me think Obama's more dialed in as far as energy goes than I thought he was. Because when Gore comes down on him hard, I know he might be doing the right thing in a way. Your thoughts?
I think almost certainly if Al Gore is against Obama, suddenly I'm thinking maybe the guy deserves a second term after all.
What? Tell us about Watermelons, the Green Movement's True Colors.
Well, there's a subtle pun in the title. I wonder if your listeners can guess it. Watermelons, green on the outside, red on the inside.
There you go.
Which is essentially, one of the things I really object to, that really sticks in my craw about the eco-fascists, the eco-loons, whatever you want to call them, is that they try and make out that the world divides into two sorts of people. On the one hand, there are the caring, nurturing, polar bear-loving, Greenpeace members who just want to save the world, and they understand, that man is a destructive force. And on the other hand, there are these evil, cackling capitalists with, cigars in their mouth and dollar signs on their pinstripe suits. And all they want to do is destroy, rape the world. And this isn't true. I am not a Greenpeace fluffy bunny hugger. But on the other hand, I don't look at a beach and think, hey, you know what would really improve that beach? A nice juicy oil slick with a pelican and maybe a sea otter going on the beach. I don't think that. I actually want a cleaner, better, happier world. I want to swim in clean rivers. We all want to make the world a better place. The difference is between me and the eco-tards is that I do not want to bomb the world economy back to the dark ages in order to get there.
Mm-hmm. And the third part of the metaphor about the watermelon, the underlying seediness of the environmental movement, as we saw après the East Anglia memos. I thought that might be a death knell. How has it played out? How has it actually
I think it gives new meaning to the word chutzpah. When ClimateGate was the story I helped to break, and I think, like a lot of people, I thought this was the death knell of the global green movement, at least in its eco-fascist form, because here we had emails from the University of East Anglia showing the scientists, or alleged scientists, at the very heart of the IPCC, that's the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. This is supposed to be the gold standard, according to President Obama, the gold standard of scientific knowledge about man-made global warming. And here were these guys shown to be cheating the evidence, conspiring to shut out any scientists who disagreed with them, which is not how science advances. Science does not advance through consensus. So here you are. These are the guys who are setting the global warming agenda, and they are behaving like very bad people. So you would have thought they would say, okay, we surrender. We've been cheating. Maybe global warming isn't quite the menace we made out it to be. Sorry, we'll get on with our jobs now. This hasn't happened. There were 4 official, independent, I hope you can hear the heavy sarcasm there, independent inquiries into this, into the University of East Anglia. And every one of those inquiries found, guess what? the scientists were entirely reputable, and what they'd done was perfectly legitimate, and actually move along. There's nothing to see here, and you know, the caravan has rolled on. It's as if these revelations have no effect.
No comeuppance at all for the active participants?
Not at all. Not at all. They've all kept their jobs. The guy in charge of the IPC, the bearded yogic love guru, Rajendra Pachauri, he's still got his job. Phil Jones has still got his job at the University of East Anglia. Michael Mann, the creator of the discredited hockey stick, as exposed by McIntyre and McKittrick. This guy still has his job.
Well, listen, I do think that the metaphor is apt. I do believe that underlying this is just some sort of need, almost a beyond anal retentive need for control. I think one of the least things it's about is the temperature, quite frankly. Put it this way. If global warming isn't true, I don't believe it is. I never have. I believe the planet's temperature is going to modulate. I think man's participation in that is nil. But why have they gone so far? Why have they steered into the skids so much? Is it a need for control? What's the underlying agenda?
Now, you've got to stop spoiling my book, because this is actually the underlying theme of the book. It is ultimately about control. When I started writing this book, I was going to write a book about ClimateGate. I mean, actually, lots of stuff has been written about ClimateGate, and actually, although the scientific side of things is very interesting, even more interesting is the political and the socio-political side of it. So let me explain. I looked at some of the books that influence people like Al Gore, for example. Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, the book that said that DDT was going to cause birds' eggshells to thin, and there would be no more birdsong, hence the title Silent Spring, and there was going to be an epidemic of cancer which was going to wipe out half of mankind. And then you've got Paul Ehrlich, the population bomb, which again predicted that as population grew, so mankind would be unable to feed itself, and we were all going to die of cancer or whatever.
He's still alive, by the way.
He's still alive, and he has no shame. He doesn't say, "Oh, sorry, I got it really wrong." He said, "Well, maybe my predictions were, maybe the time scale was wrong, but it's still going to be bad."
A latter-day Clifford Irving, I sort of believe he is.
People have been saying this stuff since the dawn of time. I mean, you had Thomas Malthus saying the same things in the late 18th century.
Is that where malfeasance comes from?
Before that, in the 2nd century AD, you had Tertullian, a Carthaginian priest, making the same predictions that very, very soon mankind would outstrip the ability to feed itself. So there has been, I think, hardwired into our DNA is this kind of doom streak. We are all going to die, and what's more, it's all our fault. Look at the Aztecs. They dealt with it by sacrificing people to the gods to appease them. In medieval times, Christians penitents wore hair shirts to punish themselves. Nowadays, what we do, we put massive taxes on our air travel. We start using crappy light bulbs that are flickery and yellow and give us headaches rather than light bulbs that actually work. There is the same hair shirt, penitent, self-flagellating lunacy in the Green Movement now as mankind has exhibited throughout the ages.
Yeah, and it would appear that in its simplest terms, one man's apocalyptic hectoring might be another man's simply his gig. Yeah. I think some of them do it just to make a buck. We'll peel that back and other issues. James is with us for the entire hour. The book is Watermelons, The Green Movement's True Colors. We're taking many phone calls at 866-509-RANT, 866-509-7268. So why don't you queue up during the break? And James and I will see you right on the other side of this on The Dennis Miller Show. Joining us for the entire hour is James Delingpole. His latest book is Watermelons, The Green Movement's True Colors. And there's a friendly name on the board from AmericanThinker.com, Thomas Lifson. Tom, how are you?
I'm great. Hello, Dennis, and hello, James.
Hey, Thomas.
If I may call you James.
You may.
I'm a great admirer of your writing. I wonder if you could comment on what I see as the supreme irony that people who call themselves progressives are against progress. They're fighting everything that would advance humankind and seem to want to regress. I call them regressives. back to some fantasy of earlier, purer, environmentally harmonious life.
Yeah, it's what I call the in order to save the city, we must destroy it syndrome, which I think abounds in the green movement. This perverse, suicidal belief that in order to make things better, we must first make them worse. I'll give you a classic example of this. Wind farms. Wind farms are an ecological disaster. They kill bats. They kill bird life. They blight the views. They destroy the soil. You've got to have Olympic-sized swimming pools worth of concrete in the bases. They don't generate enough power relative to more efficient power productions like shale gas, for example, nuclear. There are so many better ways of powering our economy. And so here are the Greens wedded to this. I think they want to return to the age of the barter system and for us all to live in yurts and mud huts and subsist on mung beans. It's not my kind of future. It's not the future I want for the children or the grandchildren, as they keep talking about.
Thomas, let me query you on something before we lose you. Why is it all so nastily put to us? And that's the thing that I can see people having diametrically opposed views on matters in the world. Why are they so nasty about it?
I think the left is based on anger. I think it's anger against the world as it is with all its imperfections when they want it to be perfect. I think it's anger against, not to get too deep into the psychology, but anger against their parents for not preparing them for the life as it is, which is full of problems, and always has been, always will be.
Yes, they do. They do look for Shangri-La. Thank you, Tom. We appreciate it. AmericanThinker.com, folks. Great website over there. And we have Kyle in New York. Kyle, you're on with James Delingpole. The book, Watermelons, The Green Movement's True Colors. What's up, Kyle?
Hi, Dennis. It's great to be included with so many bright commentators on the subject. I just wanted to address James's point about climate gain. It seems like the eco-fascist drumbeat keeps marching on as if nothing happens, but still public confidence is waning in global warming. But there is a dangerous side, and that's the indoctrination of our kids. I see that. What I really admire about you is your ridicule and your satire and your dry humor. What more can we do as a society to drive a stake in this ideology? Because I think it's false at its very core. It's almost ridiculous that some trace gas is driving the entire climate. It's absurd. Thanks, James.
James, if they like the gentleman said, how do we? If the guy in East Anglia has slipped out of it already, how do we fight back?
I totally share Kyle's frustration and despair. And also, it's true about our kids being indoctrinated. My daughter the other day was performing. She's in a choir. And one of the songs that she sang for the parents' evening was a song called "When Will We Learn?" And this was a song about how when will we learn to be less totally evil? When will we human beings learn that the earth is for treasuring and nurturing and et cetera, et cetera? This was indoctrinating children with eco-guilt in the same way that, say, children in Kim Jong-il's North Korea are indoctrinated with belief in communism. So the short answer is we have our work seriously cut out. What I would suggest, though, is that the thing that's really going to take care of this problem is ultimately the markets. You can't buck the markets.
Put that into, I know that's close to layman terms as it lays there, but put it into more layman's terms.
Okay.
What will save us?
For example, you may be aware that Al Gore and Goldman Sachs, to name but two, set up the Chicago Carbon Trading Exchange.
Yes.
I think it was last year or the year before, the Carbon Trading Exchange collapsed. Why? Because the price of carbon, or CO2 as you and I might call it, fell from $7 a ton to 7 cents a ton. Now, that is the market saying we do not believe that carbon trading, i.e. trading in thin air, is a viable economic proposition. The same thing is happening in Europe now. The carbon trading has moved to Europe. And again, the carbon trading market has collapsed because although the green movement favors rent-seeking businessmen who want to make money using government regulations, generally the capitalist system cannot wear this economy based on thin air. It just doesn't work. They understand that it's a scam.
Well, we understand from what you've told us earlier that the people on both sides of the pond in the ClimateGate memo scandal slip it. But is there anybody who's been held culpable in the fact that ethanol, when used for fuel as opposed to food in sub-Saharan Africa, has caused many people down there problems as far as getting enough food to eat during the day? Has anybody stepped up and said, I might have gacked that, or is that just lay there untouched too?
You know, one day we're going to have a climate Nuremberg. I'm not suggesting that these guys should necessarily swing, but I do think there ought to be payback for the misery they have inflicted on the world. And biofuels is one of the classic examples. You know why the Arab Spring is happening? It's not. This is not just some.
I love it when they pull back on these food chains. This one, give me the dominoes on this. The Arab Spring is from. Trace it back for me.
Well, the Arab Spring is a result essentially of food shortages in the Middle East and North Africa. It is the result of wheat prices. Arabs eat a lot of bread. Wheat prices have been driven up by the taking over of land which would have been used for wheat growing for biofuels. Yes. Why are we growing biofuels to reduce to reduce CO2 levels? So in order to pursue this mythical beast, man bear pig, to try and destroy carbon dioxide, we are creating food shortages in the third world, in North Africa, which are creating riots. This is a problem.
I would like to think that the irritable nature of the Muslim world can be traced back to an irritable bowel syndrome caused by gluten overload, but I'm not sure. I think it might be more theologic than that. But